everybody, you're going to talk, so you really need to come down, okay?
I'm going to go with that.
Okay, that's fine. Okay. All right, we all set? Okay, well, everybody all set?
I think it's better they were stand. I think
I'm sorry?
they need to stand.
The boys.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys stand so you can be seen, okay?
Want to move a chair out?
You, if you need. Okay. Back on August 10th of 2017, the Sachem family faced a tragedy on its football field. Since that time, the team members and family members of the team have not spoken to the press for a number of reasons. One of the more significant reasons is because the word came down from the district that should they talk to the press, either the football season will be eliminated or certain players would be eliminated from the football team. Well, today, the captain of the team, Matthew, who's sitting next to me, has graduated, or is graduating. He's graduating. So he now can talk without any issues concerning what happened that day and concerning what the district has been doing to thwart any efforts to help the members of the team and the community, for that matter. We have with us Matthew, who's the captain of the team. We have also with us Nick, who's also one of my claimants, who was also carrying the log on that day. We have other members of the team here, and we have members of the community who are supporting the fact that the school district has turned its back on all these people in need. Okay? Now, what's happened since this horrible incident? Well, Joshua Miletto's family have filed a notice of claim and brought a lawsuit against the district. The reason that all of these young people haven't done anything until this point is that they've been promised over and over and over again that they were going to be helped, that their conditions have been acknowledged, and that the district would help them by way of counseling or otherwise. The district has repeatedly told to the families of these young men and to the young men themselves that we're all a big family and we're all going to stick together and we're going to help you. Well, there are a lot of families involved in this horrific incident. There are a lot of people involved. Josh Miletto's mother, as distraught as she has been an angel with respect to the members of the team. She's come to every football game. She's come to practices. She's been to board meetings, and she's significantly supported the fact that these kids need help from what they witnessed that day on the field, all to no avail. The Sachem family is extended. My clients are part of the family. The entire football team is part of that family. The school coaches are a significant part of the family. You have to know that these coaches, the ones that were removed and others, have been with these kids day and night and day, trying to support them, because it's clear that their emotional status has been compromised as a result of what they witnessed that day. Every school board meeting, well, let's go back to family. So this is, the Sachem community is one big family, and all the people I've mentioned are part of that family, including all the students in that school, many of whom knew Josh and who have been emotionally distraught since this incident because of his loss. And outsiders from outside the community, both nationally and internationally, have contacted the families and have contacted the players to show their support. One example of that is a text that Matthew received from a professional football player in Houston. His name is Kendall Lamb. This text came shortly after the occurrence, and what Kendall said was, "Heard what happened, brother. I know some things in life we don't always understand, and they can be hard to cope with. Just go out this entire season motivated and ready to honor your fallen friend. Play your heart out for yourself, but also in loving memory for him. God bless you, bro, and take care." Kendall joined the Sachem family when he sent this, because this meant a lot to my client and to the other members of the team who saw this. And what did they do? They went out and played their hearts out for Joshua during the season, despite the emotional trauma that they all had witnessed and all were experiencing. This is under the law, a culpable party, the party responsible for causing an accident, is responsible to pay for medical bills to everybody it has a duty to protect, okay? Under the law, when it deals with emotional distress, there's a duty to protect all those in what's called the zone of danger. All of the team members who were carrying the log that day were in the zone of danger. They feared for their own safety. So the school has a duty to protect those players and those people on the log, but they haven't. They've turned their back. They completely stopped all counseling after 1 or 2 counseling sessions. The principal himself felt the need to start counseling again because these young men were suffering such grief. And the school district, Dr. Graham is the superintendent who made all the decisions on his own to cut the counseling, to turn his back on the team, and to tell the team, go do it yourself. I'm not interested in helping you. So this is the purpose of why we're bringing a claim. We're bringing a claim to tell the district, you can't do this to the people you have a duty to protect. You can't do this. We won't let you do this. You can't turn your backs on the young men and young women who go out there on the field and represent your school in the colors and in the name of the school, and then you say, we're not going to help you. Sorry, Dr. Graham, you're going to help them either on your own or with the court's direction, because that's what we're seeking to do. Under the law, you must file a notice of claim within 90 days. Otherwise, you're precluded from bringing a lawsuit. You can file a motion for a late notice of claim, which is what we're doing, because the reason these parents and these football players didn't file a claim or a motion earlier is the school kept telling them over and over and over again, we're a family, we're going to be there to help you. Well, Kendall Lamb is part of that family from Houston. Dr. Graham is an outsider to that family. He's refusing to help these kids who are suffering significant emotional harm. Now, Matt, who's the captain of the team, will be happy to answer questions with respect to what happened that day, more so how the team turned its back, or the district turned its back on helping these kids, which is really the focus of why we're doing this. We're trying to get them to acknowledge that they should be paying for the medical assistance that all of these students need. And it's more diverse than just the kids on the team, but the community itself at large is suffering because, again, it's an extended family that one person and one person alone has elected not to participate in, that being Dr. Graham. Now we'll answer questions, and also Nicholas, who's also one of my clients, is here. If he feels he can answer a question, he'll tap me on the shoulder and we'll let him answer the question, because this is a very emotional topic for everybody involved. I'm going to ask you to understand that if you ask Matt a question and he needs a moment or two to reflect or to compose himself, we're going to give him that because he needs it. Nobody has spoken on this issue. Nobody has answered questions on what happened or how the school district has turned its back on these kids, and he will do his best to answer those questions. I'll open the floor up. Also, we have Nicholas's dad, Mr. Palucci, and Matt's mom and dad, Mr. and Mrs. You can say the name. Kamayatek, to answer questions as to their disdain and contempt for this school district. There are other members of the community who have come just to support this particular cause, and there are hundreds and hundreds of others who wanted to be here, but there are regents being given today. And some of these young men have regents this afternoon, and they came anyway. So there's a lot of support for what's going on. There's a lot of support for a community in need that's being totally disregarded by the people who actually came out to cause this horrific event. Matthew will answer questions. If you have questions for any of the parents, they're here to answer questions.
Please slide the mic over before we start that.
To Matt?
Yeah, please. Go ahead, go ahead.
Okay, hang in there.
Matt, can you just explain the drill that was taking place that day and what exactly happened?
The incident is not something that I really like to talk about. This really isn't about the incident itself. This is about how the school board really turned its back on its players.
And how did they, Matt? Can you explain to us a little bit more? Did they give you any counseling at all, ever? Can you describe to us a little bit of what they did do and what you think they should have done more of?
So after the incident, after the football season had taken place, we had received 2 counseling sessions from Long Island Trauma, and we were promised that they would come back after, and they never came back to help. And from my understanding, it was Dr. Graham's decision to not have them come back.
What do you feel on a daily basis, Joe?
I feel a lot of mixed emotions, anger, depression. It's hard for me to cope with it.
What medical condition or help have you and your teammates on your own health insurance or your parents' guidance?
I've gone to therapy sessions and things like that.
How many, Matt?
I've gone to, I don't know, 6, maybe 7.
Matt, can you describe, you're the captain, right?
Yes.
Just as a team, what this did to all of you. I mean, you were there when this happened, and, just how it's been to cope with that, those feelings.
It's been very tough to cope with it, but we came together as a team. We really bonded, and I consider all of those guys that I played with this year my brothers. They're like family to me, and those coaches really helped us. They comforted us, and they brought us into their homes, and they really did a lot for us.
But yet you say that the school district should have done more. What would you have expected?
I think the school district should have helped us more with counseling and really just been there for us when they really didn't.
Matthew, when did you realize, they said the 2 sessions, was there a time where you went in and asked for more, where they said no, or when did you realize that they were not going to help you anymore?
We really, we were promised these more sessions after this winter break, and we never received them. And we really took action at the school board meetings and started asking and pushing, but nothing ever happened.
Just in furtherance of that question, the parents have been at the meetings asking for help almost every session, and they can address that when they speak, because they've been there over and over and over again and ignored.
Will you speak a little bit about what the district said? They said if you talk to the media, you can't continue the season, or you may leave the team.
What initially happened is that when the event occurred, they told us that we may not have a football season, and that speaking to the media may jeopardize it, and we didn't want that to happen because we wanted to play in honor of Josh.
Matthew, could you explain just what it's like every day, how you're struggling, how your friends are struggling, team members? What is it that you're experiencing? I mean, we can imagine, but to hear it from you.
It's very hard to cope with. It's something that's burned into my head. I think about it a lot, and I just try to help other people on the team, because that's my job as a leader, to really be there for them, and I have to be strong when they can't.
And you don't have to necessarily say it for yourself, but is there like kind of a collective feeling of guilt, like you were all there and this bad thing happened?
I don't know about guilt. I just feel very strong. It's hard for me to. It's just hard for me to cope with, and I just feel for his family and all of his close friends, as I was one of his brothers.
Matthew, how did when you went to the actual sessions that they set up for you, were they helping you in a way of being able to live the daily life? What was going on through the sessions as far as helping you?
Through the sessions, it was kind of they were kind of helping us deal with like depression and anxiety, things that we might have from the aftermath of the event.
And how long were those sessions? Were they held during the day, on the weekends?
They were held right after school.
For how long?
For about 42 minutes, only a 9th period session.
And there were just 2 of them.
From what I remember. Yeah.
So why do you think the school decided to suddenly stop helping you?
I think the school decided to suddenly stop helping us because they really felt that it wasn't their fault, and they didn't want to be involved with it. They kind of pushed it under the rug and just forgot about us and wanted nothing to do with it.
So you think it was
culpable in any way by helping you, it would something
Jeopardize
like
them?
that?
Yes.
What are you hoping to achieve in speaking out today and in bringing this lawsuit forward?
I'm hoping to achieve help for everybody that was involved in this tragedy, and really just getting everybody better to live everyday life regularly.
Matthew, can you just, I'm just looking at timing here. They while the football season, I know that they decided to play. So they give you the sessions, is this during the football season or right after it's over? And then once the season ends, they wipe their hands clean of this? Is that
They give us sessions after the football season.
Okay.
And after winter break, we were promised that they would come back, and they never returned.
Okay.
And they were asked, by the way, they had been asked repeatedly by the parents at the school board meetings, and they've been ignored.
So it wasn't help after the actual tragedy, it was after the football season.
Yes,
I mean, it seems a little late for all of you.
very late. Everybody needed it right away, and it never came.
So what month did you finally get the counseling? Do you remember?
I believe it was November or December.
Just as an additional note, the coaches on the team, the ones who are not going to be there anymore, were the strongest support that these kids had. They had them sleeping at their homes. They had them counseling them. They had them meeting with them privately. The coaches did everything they could for these kids. And now the school is electing to take coaches away, move kids away, and people who are still on the team, other members of the team, are stuck with nobody there. Why they're doing this, the athletic director is still there, the top echelon of people are still there, but the coaches, the people who are the strongest mentors to these kids, are being asked to leave. And it really doesn't make sense to take away the strength that these kids are living by every day with these coaches every day, and that's the only real counseling they've had from the school. The coaches have been terrific. They've been fantastic, and the parents will tell you how great they've been over the course of time. You know, the way I see this, the fish smells from the head down, and the district is responsible for this happening. It's, you know, I'm not going to ask any of the boys to point the finger at anybody. They were all there, 5 of them holding the log. 1 of them is deceased. Josh was on the log. Nick was on the log. And the tragedy, I'm sorry? And Matthew was on the log. So the tragedy happened. It was a significant problem for all of the boys. My third client, who's not here today, Mr. Udasi, he was 14. He was on the log. He was a short little boy. You know, the taller kids were holding the log above their head. The shorter kids had it on their shoulder. When the tragedy happened, Mr. Udasi went to Jason, who was laying on the floor, picked him up and coddled him as he died. And Mr. Udasi, Josh, when Josh passed away, and the kid is his dad said the kid is a stranger in his own house. He's a broken boy, and that's what's happened. And you know, there are a number of issues as to why counseling doesn't happen privately. One could be monetary. One could be because young men, young boys, they don't want to go to counseling. They know they hurt. They know they're feeling badly, but they don't want to go to a psychiatrist or a psychologist because it's not something that young boys want to do. But it's something that the district should have made sure happened, and they didn't. And they actually turned their back. They stepped outside the realm of family, and they've become strangers to these young men.
So just to clarify, and you know, just kind of exactly what's happening with this lawsuit, are you looking for more counseling for the team members, or are you suing the school for negligence? You know, like where is this notice of claim going?
Okay, it's a little bit technical, but understand that anytime somebody causes harm, they're responsible for medical. What the families want, and they should talk because they're the ones that they will tell you, all they want is the school to recognize that these kids who are on the log in the zone of danger, they need help. All they want is to get the school to give them the help they need. And if we have to sue for monetary damages in order to pay for this help, That's what we're going to do. We're not going to let the school walk away and say, hey, we don't want any part of this. We're done. So the purpose of this is to let the school know these families are serious about what's happening here.
And can we ask the parents a couple of
Yes,
questions
you want me
now,
to?
or,
Yeah, should I
Could
move?
you
Slide
just,
down,
like,
Slide the mic. I'll just pass the mic.
Yeah, we'll put.
Matt, could you just say your last name again for me? So I can-
It's my thing.
Mike is gonna. Mike.
Okay, could you just identify yourself as well? You need to tell them, sorry.
I got it. Just give me a second. I'll do everyone.
Mike. We're gonna let Mike speak first.
This is Nicholas's dad. I'm sorry?
Nick walked out. He had to walk out.
It's very emotional for these young men. So
Nick is my son that walked out of the room.
right. He has.
There's one of the boys on the log.
What? You good?
Yeah, is there a way to just identify everyone so we get everyone?
Sure. Why don't you identify yourself so that they know?
I'm Mary Ann Kamaya. My husband Joseph.
Wait. Say it into the mic. So.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm Mary Ann Kamaya. This is my husband Joseph. Matthew is my son, and Mark is my son, being Mike. And he was also there.
And
Yes.
just spell your last name for me.
KMIOTEK. Mark wasn't on the log, but Mark was at the on the field. They were and all right witnessed
there.
what happened.
I don't know where you want me to go at this point.
Just if I may just clarify something so you all know, on that particular day, there were somewhere in the neighborhood of 80 students who participated in this log conditioning exercise. They all carried the log. Unfortunately, on this particular time, they were actually racing with the log. The team with Joshua and my clients lost the race in many respects, but the other log that was running against them came in ahead of them, and then the incident happened when they were about 10 or 15 feet behind that log. So that's how the incident basically occurred.
And may we then start with that issue and ask the parents, is part of this, your feeling that was just not, that the school district or team had no business engaging in this kind of paramilitary drill with high school students?
My name is Michael Palucci. That was my wife Alicia behind me, my son Nicholas, who walked out of the room. The purpose of us being here today is not to discuss whether we agreed or disagreed with that drill. The purpose of us being here today is to discuss the Sachem School District, led by Dr. Kenneth Graham, failing not only our children, but the school in general. Unfortunately for us, the law precludes the other members of that team, or even children in that school, from seeking any type of relief because they weren't in the zone of danger, as it was called. Every one of those children need help. Every one of them. And Dr. Graham and this school district have failed time and time again. I've spoken at that school board meeting on at least 2 occasions, spoken to Dr. Graham on at least 5, and was assured that help would be provided to our children. This is the last place I wanted to be, the last thing I want to put my son through. He had to leave. This is a daily occurrence with us. That's what my life has turned into, my wife's, trying to make sure that my son gets the help he needs. And we were assured, and the way I feel is that we were assured up until that 90 days that the school district believed we had the right to file a notice of claim. And after they felt that that right was exhausted, that's when all help, or what we perceived to be help, had stopped. There are some people in that school that tried to reach out, but I don't believe they're trained for this type of trauma. A school psychologist or a guidance counselor. Those folks in that school, the adults in that school, were having trouble themselves. And we needed this outside help. And we were told by a letter that, hey, here's a number you can call. Good luck.
How much, have you had any private counseling for Nicholas?
My son's been having counseling since the week it happened.
So you've been, insurance, you've been going through?
Consistently,
insurance, you've had to-
consistently.
So Mike, you think this is a plan, that you talk about the 90 days, and then once the 90 days pass, that suddenly they feel, this is a legal maneuver you feel by this?
That's the way I feel. That's the way I feel. I feel this school district, led, once again, like I said, by Dr. Kenneth Graham, feels that if they bring anyone into this school for these children, that they're accepting responsibility, and that's something they can't do.
So how would you, knowing that you're dealing with this on a daily basis with your son who can't obviously still deal with this incident, how do you characterize the school's behavior witnessing what if this event has done to the...
You could use so many words. I'm at a loss. You're negligent. You're liable for these boys. There's so many words. Just pick them. It's terrible to what they're doing. These are people that say they're there for our children, and time again, they've turned their backs. They've turned their backs.
Talk a little bit about what kind of support did the school provide to the children up to the 90 days, and what is it that you wanted them to do more that they're not doing?
The only thing the school brought in was their employees. Their employees, who, some of them are good folks. Some of them are good folks.
Were they
Do I think they're
doctors?
trained?
Yeah.
Excuse me?
Are they doctors when you say employees?
I wouldn't employ psychologists or social workers, etc. Are they all trained to deal with this type of trauma that these children have seen? No, I don't believe they are. And that's what I was told by a few of them. There were social workers and psychologists in tears there. If you're that emotional, how are you to help our children? And I'm not saying them being emotional was wrong. It was a traumatic experience for everyone.
Just to be clear, some of the compensatory damages will be to pay back for all of that you've already paid in private counseling, correct?
I would assume.
Accurate to say that.
I would assume.
Okay. Secondly, I'm trying to anticipate what the school district is going to say, and I think I just heard something here. They may say, we gave them counseling, we gave them counselors, they had access to every single thing, because I just heard now something kind of new just popped up. So did they have, were there school counselors that were trying to make themselves available? Was there anyone besides Long Island Trauma Center?
No one that I'm aware of besides Long Island Trauma, and Long Island Trauma was brought in. I won't even say they were brought in. We were given a letter sent by the school district stating that they've reached out to Long Island Trauma, and if anyone needs help, here's their phone number. Have at it. I believe we were offered 2 to 3 free sessions with one of their counselors, and then the children or the families would have to pay, either self-insure or pay the bill.
So was it 2 or 3?
I want to say 3.
The kids got.
I want to say 3 we're able to get.
He's talking about, but just to make sure separately, there were 2 they were given in school. We got that.
No. The school ones came after. The school ones, we were given the letter first
Okay.
to say contact Long Island Trauma.
Got it.
Okay? As you know, as Mr. Mullins had stated, boys, it's very hard to get these kids to go see a counselor. Okay? I was fortunate my son was open to it. Okay? But what should have been done was these professionals, these people specifically trained in this type of counseling for this type of trauma, should have been brought into the school immediately. We were given a letter stating, here's a few free sessions, go see one of our people. Not many of them very local to our district, mind you. I had to take my son all the way to Cold Spring Harbor from Farmingville. And then it was, you're on your own. So then, after the folks and parents going to the board meetings, finally, Long Island Trauma was brought into the school right before the holiday break. They had a couple sessions. Some of the kids went. Some of the parents went. assured that they would be back after the break. Nowhere to be found.
So were there 2 or 3 sessions?
I believe two. I believe two.
Okay, just to.
I believe two.
Mike, what would you have liked to see the school district do following this incident?
I believe what the school district should have done was bring this Long Island Trauma Network into the school. You and all of us here, I think, know these boys are more apt to talk amongst a group of themselves than they are sitting in a room feeling like they're being examined by someone that they don't know. You get one boy to talk, and the other 30 or 40 boys in the room will start sharing.
Some kind of group counseling.
Absolutely, and that was
Team
never
counseling.
done. And you know, I made this statement to them. When I sit at that school board meeting and I talk to Dr. Graham and his administration, and even some of those school board members, there is more lambskins on their walls than I ever had. This has nothing to do about an education. It has everything to do with common sense, and that's what this school district is lacking.
Can we hear from one of the boys about the experience, the trauma that you're going through now?
We did.
It's an everyday thing. Depression, anxiety, just thoughts about the event.
I have a question for the parents. Did you give the school district or the superintendent an ultimatum in terms of,
Yes, I have.
compensating you for the counseling? Will they be
Not-
blindsided by this, or do they know about this press conference today and you're coming forth to take legal action?
I've repeatedly spoke to him and told him that I'm going to get seek. It's very emotional for me. My son is one boy that doesn't just talk. If it weren't for his friends behind him, his girlfriend over there, Mrs. Parker, Coach Wojcicki, Coach Gambino, taking these boys in and bringing them together and holding them and keeping them as a family like we're supposed to be. It's not just about these boys. It's about the school. It's about the kids. There's other kids involved here. There's children on the baseball team. There's people that weren't even in sports that need help, that knew Joshua. They've done nothing for these people. And it's the saddest thing in the world. My son's saying is, I'm not going to leave anybody behind. That's Matthew's saying.
Can you give us some of the symptoms that you see in your son and these boys? Like, are they asleep? Are they, give us some idea of how it's manifesting?
When this first happened, they slept at a friend of mine's house, Carrie Parker and Mike. And the nightmares, these kids, they wouldn't go to sleep. They were taking the drinks to stay awake, so they didn't have to close their eyes, okay? Yes, the school had counselors there. Who is able to handle what happened? Who's able to really handle what these boys are feeling? Now they're told that they're going to lose their coaches. My son is younger. He's going to lose his coach. A person that's make sure every day, you okay? You okay? You okay? Everything okay? Now they're taking him away from him. So they're hitting these kids again.
Just, Nick is asked on the topic of how he's feeling, if he can say something. So, I'll let Nick come over.
It's okay, it's okay.
Just have something right there.
Nick was on the wall with Matt.
Palucci?
One second.
Basically, with all this, every day is a little bit of a struggle. You never know how you're going to wake up. You can either wake up feeling angry, actually be happy, just sad, and it sucks. It really does. I mean, last year I had a concussion, and I was out of school for about 2 months. I battled depression, and then I got over it. And then all this, and it's just came right back. My anger's a lot worse. It's out of control now. Like I just get really bad anger outspurts, and I barely sleep. I get about 2-3 hours of sleep a night the most. Could just wake up with like panic attacks and stuff every night. And I see a counselor mostly like once a week, and it doesn't really change. It's still the same. I mean, I I basically see everything again every night in my sleep, and I don't know, I mean, just feel like the school could have done a lot more to help us with this, but they haven't done anything for us, and that's just the way I feel.
What's it like having to go back to the school? Is that something that's tough to do also? You're going back to where the event happened. I mean, what is school like for you?
I mean, it's kind of school. I mean, I really don't think anyone likes it, but it's just like, some days it's hard, but like other days, it's nice not to be alone, like have your friends. Like, because this year I also had kidney surgery, and being home in my room alone, not doing anything, it doesn't help at all. You just start thinking a lot, and it's just, as I said before, it sucks. Like, you don't have anyone to talk to get your mind off it or anything.
So you say it's important to have your friends close to you. Can you elaborate on, for all of you guys, why it was so important to keep the team together and not cancel the football season? What's the importance for that, and how does it help you cope?
Because it's a brotherhood, you know. You always have each other to lean on. Like, after the incident, I don't know about Matt, like I really didn't feel that comfortable talking about it and being alone. So me and Matt went to counseling together for a little bit, and it helped. It helped me like open up to it a little more, and then just we wanted to keep Josh's like legacy basically. So we were all playing for Josh, and just we were all together. It was nice. Like, even after the incident, we would all be like, we were always together. There was never like a moment where we'd just be alone, because when you're alone is when you start thinking, but when you're with your brothers, if something happens, they're always there for you to lean on, and it's really helpful. It's like, it's better than, kind of in my opinion, like any therapy, just to be with people that were there and understand what you're going through.
Nick, do you think you can talk about what happened that day?
I don't feel comfortable with it.
That's fine, thank you.
Nick, can you talk a little bit, you said that you only get 2 to 3 hours of sleep a night, and you wake up with panic attacks. What is it that's keeping you up, and what do you...
I just have nightmares about it.
About that
Yeah.
day, what you saw that day?
Mm-hmm.
And this has been going on since...
Yeah.
Since it happened?
Mm-hmm.
Do you see yourself getting better, living with the pain, but moving forward?
I do. I mean, I can see me in the future, like, doing stuff, basically, like, not just sitting at home, but it's just going to take time to recover.
Can you talk just a little bit about if the school had brought a counselor or a psychologist into the school, how that would have helped you, given that you've actually received counseling on the outside?
I mean, I don't really know. It's kind of just, but whenever they brought in the people from Long Island Trauma, I don't know about everyone else, but for me, it brought me back to the exact day and what was happening, and it just didn't help. I only went to one of the meetings after school because they basically, if this makes sense, they did the therapy, but they didn't do it. Like, they basically said what they would do, like they talked us through like what would be happening, but we didn't have like any of the stuff that they want us to use. Like, I don't know, these are like, you put something in each hand, like it vibrates, I don't know. Like, just like weird stuff like that, but they basically did the therapy without those, and it didn't help at all. It kind of just brought me back and like made me go into relapse.
So what could the school have done or should have done that would have helped you?
I mean, just like group therapy with the team, stuff like that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Maybe you know how many coaches?
The only coach I know that's been let go of is coach, and I'm assuming that if and when a new head coach is announced, that he'll bring his own staff.